So I'm super excited. You know, I have Women We Love Wednesday, and this is a woman we love for real. Crystal Gutierrez is here with us today. There is a very exciting buzz around town that's happening because Beyond the Crime convention is coming to Isleta Casino.
Yes.
And you are the powerhouse behind this.
Well, thank you.
So excited. I have so much to talk to you about. First of all, what got you started down this path of true crime and really New Mexico crime?
Right. Yeah. So a lot of you may recognize me from KRQE. I'm a retired news anchor, covering news for, my goodness, 15 plus years. Finally left there just because I wanted to kind of dive into the missing persons world. We don't really get that much coverage on these cases, so I started Beyond the Case. That's where it kind of took off. I have a private investigator that works alongside with me, and we reinvestigate missing persons cases. Obviously, funding is always fun and tricky when you're on YouTube, right? So we host events, and that's where we decided, you know what? We need to host a big convention where it gives local families the opportunity and investigators to come out and speak on behalf of their family members or themselves and give their stories to the locals, because typically you don't see these stories unless they're on television or on a paper. And we want you to be able to have that kind of personal feeling where you sit down and watch them tell their story live, and get the emotion from them. And it's so impactful on these cases. So that's why we decided, you know what, let's do this big convention here.
Yeah. You know, I was watching one of the episodes, and it was the one where the cousins went missing. And you go into the home of the sister, and she's recounting the story from when she was a kid, and she was so upset because, she thought it was because she lied about who gave away the man's product.
Right. His plant.
Yes. How does it feel to go into these homes and feel the pain? It's so personal. It has to be so impactful and yet make you really want to get to the bottom of it and solve the case.
Absolutely. And I think that's what drives us more so. As I've told all of the families, we don't make a lot of money off of this. This is a work of passion for all of us on my team. And it is that personal that we do tell our families that you're stuck with us until we either solve the case, we find your family member, or we get you resolution to where you're comfortable saying, okay, I'm ready to stop. By no means do we push them to do the interviews, but we do promise that they'll have a private investigator that I fund. We've done cadaver dog digging that I fund as well, my production company. We've gone to other states to do DNA testing. Also, my company funds that. The families don't pay a cent. And I feel too often these families are left in the dark, not knowing where to turn, but they also want transparency. And I understand that sometimes detectives are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because they can't give them the information they may want to because they have a law enforcement agency that's behind them. We give them everything. If I do an interview, if I get documents, they can have full access to that at any time.
You must bring them such peace of mind too that somebody's listening, because I'm sure they feel like nobody's listening after a while.
I agree with you. We do often hear that from the families that they feel as if they've kind of been left behind. And like I said, no matter what we do in their investigation, I will call them first and I'll let them know, hey, we just spoke to this person and this is what they told us. And that's big for us, is I really want them to feel comfortable with us. It's hard for them to trust people. It really is, because they don't know when that trust is going to be broken. By no means are we perfect. We are not perfect, and we are going to make mistakes along the way, absolutely. But our promise is to the family that we're doing all this without malice.
Yeah, it's got to be so nerve-wracking too to be one of these families where the case is not solved because you don't know the why. And I think everything that we go through, we just want to know the why. And I know there's some things we let go of and we say we're never going to know the why. But something like this, you want to know. And is it personal? It feels very personal. And is something else going to happen to my family? It's got to be very nerve-wracking.
It is. I could tell you this. So, for my history, my backstory is my father passed when I was 15, and it was heartbreaking, and it flips your world upside down. But I know where my dad's at, and I know how his story ended. And for so many of these families, they don't have that ending, nor do they have a place where they could go leave flowers for them. And that is so hurtful, to their soul, every part of their being, because they're constantly looking around for that missing loved one. And it's very difficult for them to come to the terms that maybe they're not with us. But if they're not, can somebody just please speak up and let me know, so that way I can move on and I can have that closure just like everyone else does.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so first of all, I feel like these documentaries about crime, they have a chokehold on us. Right now, everyone's talking about the Gabby Petito on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet. That's our plan for tonight. That's what we do on Friday nights. But what is it about these cases that just gets us so we just
kind of wrapped up.
We can't stop until we figure it out. My husband and I will watch it, and then we'll discuss it for an hour afterwards to see if they missed anything.
Yes. So I can tell you this, and we do get a lot of, I won't say backlash, but we do get people that are questioning, why would you want to do this story? You're trying to make money off of somebody's grief. By no means are we doing that. But I can say that majority of the women that do watch true crime that I speak with, the number one reason why they do watch, and this is going to blow your mind because you know this answer, what do you tell your girlfriends? Hey, I just saw this story. Don't do that. Hey, did you notice this happened? You need to watch her because I was worried about her spouse. He kind of does this too. So we watch these stories not because we're infatuated with it, not because we're wanting to be obsessed with it, because it's very relatable.
Yes.
Because what happens on these stories could happen to you or I. And, we take it upon ourselves to say, I'm going to learn from this. And I've always done that as a journalist, is if I could give somebody the gift of learning something new, that is my job for the day. So what I'm giving to you for some of these stories is maybe you can relate to them to where you feel that could have been my sister that went missing. And now I want to reach out. If I could get 5,000 people to attend a missing persons rally, my job would be easy. But I can't. So if I could get you to watch a documentary about this person who's missing and 5,000 people watch, now you know their name, now you know their face, now you know their story, and you want to help. It's hard to get people to come out looking for a missing person. Any person out there who's looking for a missing loved one, it is so difficult to get the community to come out, which seems easy, right?
Right.
But you can watch a documentary, and that's your way of helping. Because the more you watch, and the more your relatives watch, or your neighbors watch, the more people will get the word out, and we could get more tips to solve these cases.
It's exactly what I do. I watch them, and then I text my daughter, and I tell her, look out for this, and don't pick up a $20 bill, because there was something on TikTok recently where you don't pick up any money that's on the floor, because that means something too. And I don't know, it's scary, but I think it's good. Now we know the red flags to look for in people.
Right.
And situations too. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
good. So what can people look forward to at the convention? What are we gonna find?
So, as I mentioned, if I could get 5,000 people out to missing person search, it would be great, right? But I can try to get them out to this convention. So the good thing is that everybody that's going to be on stage has either been impacted or is an advocate of true crime, including our expo halls. Same criteria. You don't get in just because you're you love, I don't know, making bizcochitos. We don't have you come in. You're going to be somebody that's going to help somebody else. So all the speakers, we have missing persons family members that are going to be there. We're going to have a podcaster whose father was murdered, and she's going to tell her story. And there's going to be a lot of emotion on some of these speaking sessions. Bigger part, though, we have the advocates, where we have Tiller Russell is our keynote speaker, he is the filmmaker, I should say, of Netflix's Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez.
Yes.
So he's gonna tell you about how he had to approach making this, which you've probably watched. So many people have probably watched this docuseries, and you get a behind-the-scenes look as to what went into that, from the perspective of, I need to be mindful of the survivors. I need to be mindful of the families of the victims, and I need to make sure that he's not glorified as this person that's now become a celebrity, that he's a monster.
Right.
And that's really what Richard Ramirez is.
Right.
So you get to hear straight from him. You get to hear from 2 other filmmakers who are working on a docuseries about the West Mesa murder case.
Oh,
yes.
interesting.
They're going to give us a little sneak preview of it. We're going to have some family members of the West Mesa murder case who are going to come out. And you get to feel that impact, not only from them, but also from the people who are advocating for them. In addition to that, because I know people who watch true crime also listen to true crime.
Oh, yes.
We have well over a dozen, I'd say almost 2 dozen podcasters coming in from out of state that focus solely on true crime. So you may get to go meet somebody that you listen to.
Oh, I love it.
Every Thursday night. Take a picture with them, hang out with them, get to know them as a person. In a sense, they are celebrities in the true crime world. For those who are more intrigued by the investigation, you get to walk through a mock crime scene and analyze what you think the clues were, what you think the clues weren't. And at the end, a private investigator will tell you what you got right and wrong and explain why. So there are so many things you can do. Of course, we know this is going to be very emotional and impactful. We'll also have a healing room there where you're able to go and talk to people about grief, get some counseling on that. We're going to have some mediums there. If somebody, feels like this might help my brother or my sister's case, it's a full-fledged convention. It's kind of a pick-your-own adventure. So once you get there, when you go, Kiki, we're going to give you a schedule and say, here's your schedule. You choose what you want to do. 2 speaking sessions going on at the same time, live podcasters, mock crime scene, a healing room, a forensics room, all going on at the same time, and you get to pick what you want to kind of dive into for the day.
I love the mock crime scene because I'm very good at detecting things. I'm like, oh, there's something over there. And we all watch CSI and all those shows too. So.
Absolutely. And let me tell you this, because I know a lot of people think like, oh, I'm weird. I listen to true crime. I watch true crime. Most of our tips and things that we didn't think about in our cases, because we investigate our cases, come from people just like you.
Oh, really?
Who watch and watch and watch. Why? Because you guys know.
Yeah.
You guys watch these shows. You listen all the time, and something you heard in one case could relate to another case. And that's why this whole community is so close-knit, because people really want to help other people.
Right. I love that we're revisiting the West Mesa murders too, because I feel like sometimes in the news cycle, it's all they talk about for 24 hours, and then you never hear about it ever again. And you're like, well, what happened? I mean, these are all somebody's children. And I think we forget that because we I don't know, stereotype them or pigeonhole people, and everyone is somebody's baby. And what would you do if that was your child?
Absolutely.
So
100% agree. And I do think the West Mesa murder case needs to be recognized on a bigger scale. Yes. And I'm so happy that, as I mentioned, we have the 2 filmmakers that are really working to make sure this is not silenced, and they pull this docuseries out and give it more legs to hopefully grow.
Yeah. So as a reporter, how do you not take everything home with you? Or do you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I do, because I'm human.
Right.
And it's funny because when I first started as a journalist, and I would go do an interview, I would pinch myself if I started to cry. Or I would bite the side of my cheek, because in my mind I thought, I'm not supposed to cry. I'm a reporter. Right. I need to be stoic. I need to be, let's get the job done. But as I've grown in this industry for so long, I'm human. And I do cry with, some of the family members, because you can relate to them. And it's, and I tell them every time, I wish I was meeting you under different circumstances. I wish I didn't have to meet you today.
Yeah.
Because those are true words. You do take it home. You do think about it. One of my videographers told me, he's like, the hardest part for you is going to be separating your life, because you're constantly thinking of new ways. I'll call the private investigator and I'll say, you know what? We didn't look into this, or I was thinking about that, and I'm at home, or I'm eating dinner. because it doesn't leave you. It doesn't leave you.
Yeah. I know. I think one of the most heartbreaking lines from the first episode was when the sister said, "It changed my whole life. Like I'm not who I was going to be because of what happened to my brother."
Right.
And her cousin, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And her cousin.
And it was just, I think we take for granted sometimes how our actions affect other people, and it's all like a butterfly effect.
Absolutely.
And no more so than when one of your family members is missing or God forbid killed. So it was just heartbreaking.
It really is. And I agree with you on this aspect that local news are on a 24-hour cycle, especially with social media now. They're constantly burning new news. That sometimes they're not able to get as personal. And I do, when we talk to the families, I let them know that this isn't a story, this is your life.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard for us to remember that these aren't just stories. Everybody that was impacted by this continued to live with that for the rest of their life. And it's in their mind every single day.
Yeah. Sad. It's sad, but we can't get enough.
No. And the good thing is that we're going to have that convention, and you're going to be able to come out and hear straight from them and help. And one of the podcasters she mentioned when we were talking on the phone, she was like, you know what? Just them being there is helping. Just you coming out is helping, because you get to hear my story and know my loved one who passed away, who's murdered, my loved one who's missing, and you get to carry on this story and tell other people, so that way we can find resolution for these cases.
Right. Where could people go for more information and tickets?
BeyondCrimeConvention.com. Very simple. It's at Isleta, March 15th, all day. So show up early at 8, because the doors will officially open at 9. But, I should say, let's take that back. Doors open at 7:30, but it kicks off at 9. So you want to get there with enough time to get your badge. You'll get a badge. You'll get your schedule, and you'll get your tote bag with some flyers and some other goodies inside that you're able to keep for the remainder of the convention. Expo Hall, go down there. A lot of these podcasters, they like to give away stickers and buttons. So go hang out with them. Go meet them. They do great work. They're really ethical. We've vetted all of them, and they're so good.
Nice. And everyone's approachable, too.
Yes.
Sometimes I think we get intimidated. We go and meet somebody who we listen to, and we're like, oh, no, we can't talk to them. But it's not like that. No, they want to talk to you.
Yes. And honestly, this true crime community is so... it's so tight-knit. There's so many true crime podcasts out there, and I never knew about this world until I've gone to a few of these, events. And they are so humble, and their whole job is just to advocate for families. That's it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great work that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. I love you.
Yes,
thank you.
thank
And
you.
look all...
I got dressed up just for you.
I love it.